This is a story about a day in Victorian London, an ordinary day in an extraordinary city. It's not about famous names or grand events, but about the rhythms of daily life. Waking before the sun, walking through smoky streets, working hard with tired hands. It's about the feel of coal dust in the air, the sound of boots on cobblestones, and the quiet pride of getting through another day. London in the 19th century was vast and bustling. Its factories rumbled, its markets shouted, its rooftops smoked, and its people, millions of them, moved through it all in step with the turning gears of the age. What follows is a guided walk through that world, hour by hour, told as if you were living it. So take a breath, imagine the cold morning air, and step into the street. Your day is about to begin. You wake before the light has crept into the sky, long before the bells of St. Mary Le Bow or the slow, solemn toll of St. Paul's drift through the morning fog. The world outside is still black, quiet save for the creaking wood of your narrow bed and the wind rattling against the glass. The window, thin, warped, and always cold to the touch, lets in more chill than light. Its corners are feathered with frost even in late autumn, and you watch your breath puff out in little clouds above your chest. You do not lie under thick quilts or sheets. You have only a coarse, woolen blanket, prickly and thin from long use, and a worn coverlet that smells faintly of old smoke, soap, and coal dust. You live in one room. It is just you, your family, and the few possessions you all share. A basin, a rickety chair, perhaps a wooden crate where your mother keeps the bread and tea. The walls are bare and stained, the ceiling cracked. You can hear everything through the thin partition boards, someone coughing in the next room, someone spitting into a bucket, a baby stirring to cry in the dark. Your father snores softly. Your sister sleeps with her back pressed against yours for warmth. The fire grate is dark. You didn't burn coal through the night. It costs too much. The last of the embers died out long ago, leaving only cold ash. You know you'll need to build it again soon, but not yet. Not until you've earned a little more. You lie still for a moment longer, gathering yourself. Your body aches in that familiar, dull way. Not from illness, not from any injury, just from being cold and tired and always working. It's a strange comfort, that ache, proof that you are still alive, still moving. You don't think of rest as something to wish for. You think of it as something you escape into, briefly, before the world demands you again. There's a sound now, a distant rumble, soft but unmistakable. It's the first wagon of the morning rolling across cobblestone, probably bringing milk from the country into the city. Soon more will follow. Fishmongers from Billingsgate, meat carts from Smithfield, coal carts from the East End docks. London wakes slowly, but it does wake, and when it does, it never stops moving. You sit up. The bed creaks beneath you, loud as a gunshot in the silence, and your feet touch the floor, cold as iron. The floorboards are uneven and bare, with only a sackcloth rug near the hearth. The rug is damp where it rained through the ceiling last week. You pull on your clothes you folded neatly the night before, not out of order, but out of necessity. You cannot afford to let them wrinkle or grow dirtier than they already are. There's a hole in your stocking, and you turn it so it's less likely to catch the eye. Your shirt is frayed at the cuffs. The boots you wear were your brother's first, and his before that, and the leather has gone soft in all the wrong places. But they'll do. They must. If you're a boy, you may dress in coarse wool trousers, a patched-up vest, and a heavy overcoat if the season allows. If you're a girl, you slip on a long skirt with a petticoat underneath, a simple blouse, and an apron that will be dirty by midday. You might tie a shawl over your shoulders or wrap your hair in a kerchief. Modesty is important, especially among the working class, but more than that, layers mean warmth. In the corner, your mother stirs. She does not wake with a smile. She wakes like you, slow, cautious, already thinking of what needs to be done. There's washing to collect, or bread to queue for. Water must be hauled in from the pump down the road, because there's no plumbing here, no taps or sinks. you'll likely carry the pail. Your mother's back has been aching since spring. You splash water from the basin onto your face. It's icy and sharp and wakes you better than coffee ever could. You do not have soap this morning, just a coarse cloth. Soap is dearer than you'd like, and you save it for Sundays or when work demands you appear cleaner than you are. Hygiene isn't a luxury in Victorian London. It's a calculation. You open the window latch a crack, though your hands sting with cold as you do. The air that rushes in is thick, not fresh, laden with the familiar scent of smoke, horse manure, and damp brick. Fog rolls in off the Thames like a living thing, thick with soot and sulphur. It's called a London particular, the yellow-grey smog that blankets the city in winter and clings to your clothes, your hair, your lungs. This is the smell of home. You don't question it. You don't remember a time when the air didn't sting your throat or turn your handkerchief black by evening. By now, the rooftops are silhouetted against the sky, which is just beginning to soften into dull blue. The coalmen call to each other as they begin their rounds, pushing carts that squeak beneath heavy loads. A chimney sweep's boy, even younger than you, hurries down the street, soot already smeared across his face. There's a dog barking 2 doors down, and the rattle of shutters being drawn up. You nibble at a bit of bread, last night's crust, saved for this morning. If you're lucky, there's a lick of jam on it. More often, it's dry. You chew slowly, wishing it lasted longer. There will be no breakfast later. This is all. Your mother hands you your satchel or basket or tin pail. Inside might be the scraps of your lunch. If you're very fortunate, a bit of cheese or suet pudding wrapped in cloth. Often, it's nothing at all. You do not complain. Complaining doesn't change what's in your hand. You kiss her cheek if there's time and step out into the dawn. The street greets you with the smell of smoke and frying fat. Someone's already cooking kippers in a pan outside their door. You pass rag pickers sorting through bins, women scrubbing stoops with stiff bristled brushes, a man already drunk at his doorstep. The city is waking, and so are you. You walk quickly, keeping your head down, your breath clouding in the air like a fog of your own. Behind you, the room you left falls silent again. In front of you, the city stretches out, grey, grim, and full of noise. It's time to earn your bread, time to move, time to join the machine that is London. But just before the sun rises fully, you pause and look back once. The chimneys are exhaling smoke now, one after the other, black plumes against a grey sky. They do not stop. They never stop. And neither can you. The door shuts behind you with a quiet clack, and now the city is yours, or rather, you are its. You step into the lane, where the morning air bites your cheeks and fingertips, and everything feels just a little too damp. Your boots slip slightly on the cobblestones, slick with last night's rain, or perhaps with something fouler, animal waste, or kitchen slop thrown from a window above. You step carefully, not just to stay clean, but to stay upright. No one has time for a twisted ankle. It is still early. The light that glows behind the thick fog is not sunlight exactly, but something duller, yellower, filtered through soot and damp like candlelight trapped in a bottle. You've never seen a sky that's truly blue unless you've been outside the city, and that only rarely. In London, the air always carries a faint tang of coal and ash, the way bread carries the smell of yeast. The whole city seems to simmer with the breath of chimney pots and the stirrings of thousands of fires lighting in thousands of homes just like yours. The streets are never truly quiet, not even now. Somewhere nearby, a milkman rattles past with tin churns strapped to a handcart. The clatter of the metal echoes between brick walls, the clinking sound oddly cheerful. You hear him call out, "Milk! Fresh milk!" His voice rising above the murmur of waking life. Down the road, a lamplighter extinguishes the last of the gas lamps with a practiced motion, his ladder creaking beneath him. The lamps have burned all night, casting sickly yellow halos on the wet stones. They flicker out one by one now, leaving only the grey dawn behind. Soon the lamps will be washed in soot and need cleaning again. They always do. You walk past the rag and bone man pushing his cart, wooden wheels wobbling on their axles. He calls out rags, bones, old iron, in a sing-song voice, hoping for scraps he can sell or trade. He'll take your broken pot, your worn boots, the bones from last week's stew. Nothing in this city goes unused if it can help someone earn a shilling. Women in shawls and bonnets lean from their upstairs windows, shaking out rugs or calling instructions to children down below. Smoke curls past their heads from the chimneys above. Children your age, or younger, hurry along the pavement clutching baskets or empty bottles, their shoes scuffed, their expressions already tired. You recognize them. Some work where you do, some sell things on street corners, and some simply roam, looking for any job that will feed them. You step aside as a horse-drawn cart clatters toward you. The driver sits high atop the seat in a heavy coat, whip in hand, eyes half lidded with sleep. His horse snorts, steaming breath clouding in the cold air. The animal's hooves strike the stones in rhythm, louder than church bells, and the wheels splash through puddles as black as ink. You catch the faint whiff of manure, leather, and hay, and you're reminded that much of the city moves on 4 legs, not 2. To your left, a narrow alley stretches into gloom. It's no wider than a man's shoulders and smells like rot, but even it is full of motion. Scurrying rats, the shuffling steps of someone waking up in a doorway, the shuffle of boots on grit. These backways and yards crisscross the city like veins, feeding the great industrial heart of London with labour and bodies and refuse. As you move closer to the main thoroughfares, the buildings grow taller, more uniform. Brown and black brick with narrow windows and chimneys that sprout like weeds from the rooftops. You pass a public house where the shutters are just now being drawn back. The barkeeper's apprentice sweeps the steps while balancing a pipe between his teeth, the stale scent of beer and sawdust wafting from the doorway. At the corner, a newsboy cries Times. News of the Empire. He's thin, red-cheeked, with ink-stained fingers and a scarf tied tight about his throat. He holds a stack of papers under one arm, shouting headlines at passers-by who don't stop. You don't stop either. You couldn't afford the penny for a paper if you tried. But you hear words like railway disaster, India uprising, Queen's speech, and you tuck them away without meaning to. They'll surface again in conversation, useful as currency among those who want to sound clever. Here, in the early hours, you see people from every corner of the city's vast social ladder. A doctor in a fine black coat and stiff hat passes you in haste, his boots polished, his face pale and unreadable. He steps carefully, unwilling to brush shoulders with the butcher boy you're walking behind, whose apron is already streaked in blood from the morning delivery. You see a maid hurrying down the steps of a grand house, holding a chamber pot at arm's length as she makes for the gutters. There's a harsh splash, and the smell reaches you before you pass. She nods to you, tired but kind-eyed. Perhaps she's new to the house and hasn't yet learned to keep her eyes down. You stop to let a chimney-sweep boy pass, no more than 7, black from scalp to sole, dragging his brushes behind him like a burden too big for his back. He doesn't speak. He only coughs. You nod in greeting, and he nods back, the unspoken language of children who work. Further along in the distance, the first clang of a factory bell cuts through the fog. You hear it ring and feel it in your chest. Time to go. The bell is never early. It is never late. It means the day has begun in earnest, and anyone not in their place when the second bell tolls may as well stay home. You quicken your step. As the streets grow busier, the noises blend into something alive. The sound of footsteps, shouting, clattering carts, barking dogs, and voices arguing, singing, or bargaining, all mixed together into a constant humming rhythm, the pulse of London itself. And above it all, the bells begin to ring, church bells, factory bells, schoolhouse bells. They answer one another in metallic tones across the rooftops, calling the city to its feet. You are no longer one of the first to rise. Now you are just one among thousands, moving with the crowd toward the day's labor. Your breath rises in plumes around you. Your stomach grumbles again. Your heart beats fast, not with excitement, but with urgency. London is fully awake now, and it does not wait. You reach your place of work just as the city exhales its first full breath of industry. It doesn't matter what job you do. The city has many faces, but they all wear the same hard mask. Whether you're a factory hand, a delivery runner, a maid, an errand boy, or a flower seller, the day begins early and without mercy. The sun, when it shows at all, is barely above the horizon, a pale smudge behind fog and chimney smoke. The light doesn't warm you. It's only there to say, begin. Today you are headed to the factory, or perhaps to a tailor's workshop, or the matchstick plant, or to a long kitchen below a wealthy home. The truth is, it hardly matters. The rhythms are nearly identical. Early start, long hours, short breaks, and little room for error. Even the smells are similar: iron, soot, oil, starch, or soap. You enter through a narrow door, one among dozens. No clock greets you, only the floor manager's scowl or a foreman's clipboard. They notice who is late, who coughs too much, who falters. You've learned not to draw attention, not even by accident. You nod silently and take your place. The room around you buzzes as others do the same, settling into their own familiar discomfort. The air inside is worse than the air outside. It's close and warm, which should be a comfort in winter, but it carries a thick, choking dampness. If you're in a textile mill, threads of cotton float invisibly, tickling your throat and clogging your chest. If you're in a match factory, it smells of phosphorus, sharp and sweet and dangerous. You've heard of girls whose jaws rot from it. They call it phossy jaw. You try not to think about that. If your work is in a kitchen, it's hot and always moving. You might be tasked with peeling potatoes for hours on end, your fingers raw and pink by the time you're done. If you're in a laundry, your hands ache from lye and water, scrubbing collars and linens that belong to people you'll never meet, never speak to. In a printing shop, your nails go black with ink. In a cobbler's stall, your wrists hurt from stitching leather into hard shapes. You are never idle. The first few hours pass in a blur, because that's what repetition does. If you're stitching, you do the same movement over and over. If you're sorting coal, your fingers turn black to the bone. If you're bottling beer, your hands grow slick and the bottle's heavy. In most jobs, there's little conversation. Talking is discouraged. It slows the work. In some places, it's punished. Occasionally, you exchange a glance or word with someone near you. Not much. Just enough to say you're both still there. It might be a girl your age with a dusting of flour on her cheek, or a boy you sometimes walk home with, who once shared a crust of bread when your stomach was louder than your pride. You think sometimes about the wealthy people whose lives exist far above you, literally and figuratively. They live in houses with thick carpets and silent hallways, with polished windows and fires that burn even when no one is in the room. Some of them don't work at all. Some ride in carriages past your street, pulled by horses whose hooves shine like glass. If they think about you at all, it is as part of the city, like a brick in a wall or smoke from a chimney, necessary but invisible. Your own thoughts wander as your hands continue their motion. Sometimes you count the pieces you've completed: 5 dozen paper boxes, 10 shirts, 20 polished boots. Sometimes you try to remember a song your mother used to hum. If you're lucky, you still hum it yourself. There is a break at mid-morning, if your workplace allows it. Not lunch, not yet. Just a moment to pause. You may sit on a crate or lean against the wall. You may sip water from a tin cup or chew the crust you saved from earlier. If you're very fortunate, someone shares a heel of cheese or a boiled egg. The silence during break time is deep because everyone feels it. This is the only quiet you'll get until dusk. Then, back to work. The hours between break and lunch feel the longest. You grow sore again in all the same places. Your back curves inward, your wrists throb, your legs go numb from standing. The air gets heavier, not lighter, and your mind drifts to food. What you'll eat when you get home, what you won't eat, who might have eaten more. Lunch comes in the middle of the day, though it's hardly a feast. You step outside if the foreman allows, onto a cold stoop, or into the alley. You might unwrap a bit of bread, a wedge of pie if your family has been lucky or generous. Tea is rare. Soup, rarer. You eat quickly, with eyes on the clock or on the foreman's feet. Some workers don't leave their posts at all, preferring to eat and work in tandem to avoid scolding. And then, back again, always back. The afternoon settles like a wet blanket. Your body is tired, and so is everyone else's. Accidents happen more easily now. Fingers nicked, glass shattered, machines jammed. If you're in a dangerous place, like a sawmill or a foundry, you know not to let your guard down, not even for a second. You've seen what happens when someone does. You've seen the limp, the bandaged hand, the boy who didn't come back. There are no unions here, no safety rails or inspectors, just rules, and most of them serve the owners. If you're sick, you still come. If you're injured, you wrap it and continue. If you cannot work, you are replaced. And yet, for all its hardship, this job may be the best you can get. It's better than the workhouse, better than begging. The last hour before quitting time is the hardest. You keep glancing at the clock or the light outside. If there's a window to see it, time slows. Your body aches in earnest now. You shift weight from foot to foot. You count down movements. 10 more, 5 more, 1 more. And then the bell rings. The relief is immediate, but it does not feel like joy. It's more like release, like exhaling a breath you forgot you were holding. You step away from your post, flex your fingers, rub your back, stretch your legs. There's no applause, no pat on the back. Just the end of the day, and the knowledge that it will come again tomorrow. You file out with the others. No one talks much yet. Most are too tired. You all walk back out into the street, where the air feels colder now, or maybe that's just your sweat cooling on your skin. The city is still moving around you, but for now your part in its great machine is done. You step back into the streets at day's end, your arms heavy and your boots wet. The evening is creeping in, not in haste, but slowly, as if it were unfurling across the sky. The fog hasn't lifted, it rarely does. Instead, it thickens, hanging low and ghostly in the gaslight. You can hear the city changing around you. This is when London becomes two cities. The one you know of factory bells and coal smoke and crowded alleys slips into shadow, and above it, sometimes within shouting distance, the other city begins to stir, the world of the well-dressed, well-fed, and well-lit. The people you pass in this part of town speak softer. Their boots make less noise on the stones. They smell of lavender water and shaving soap, not soot and starch. You glance upward at the tall houses, where lights now flicker behind lace-curtained windows. You see silhouettes move across drawing rooms, a woman pacing in a hoop skirt, a servant drawing the shutters, a man with a pipe crossing to the fire. You know your place is never up there, but the light feels warm all the same, and you pause for a moment just to look. The air smells different too. There is still soot, yes, but it's laced now with the tang of roasted chestnuts, cigar smoke, and the scent of bakeries selling their last loaves of the day. You see a carriage pass, a hansom cab pulled by a tall gelding with brass trim and polished harness. Inside, the figure of a gentleman sits, gloved and cloaked, reading a folded newspaper by the light of a tiny gas lamp inside the cab. He does not look at you. Sometimes you walk through these parts on your way home, not because it's shorter, but because you're curious, because you want to see how the other half lives. Not with jealousy, exactly, more with awe. These streets are wider, the stones are cleaner, even the gutters are more polite. You pass the front entrance of a grand hotel where porters wear gold buttons and top hats. You are careful not to linger. These places are not meant for you. A constable might move you along, or a doorman might sneer, but you catch a glimpse through the doorway of chandelier light, of red velvet carpet, of a waiter balancing silver dishes on a tray. You wonder what it would be like to sit at one of those tables, to be served instead of serving. Further along, you come to the shopping street. Most of the shops are closing now, but the displays remain. Gaslight reflected in panes of curved glass, illuminating hats with feathers, gloves in delicate rows, toys of painted tin, sugar candies shaped like fruit. These are not things you could ever buy, but still, your eyes trace every shape. You stop at a bookseller's window and read the titles aloud in your mind. You imagine what each story might hold. Even here, though, you are not entirely out of place. Children like you are always part of the city's fabric, whether sweeping a shop's steps, delivering parcels, or holding lanterns for gentlefolk as they cross the street. In this way, you become a detail in the backdrop of their lives, silent, unnoticed, but always there. Sometimes you see the other servants, footmen waiting by carriage doors, maids in stiff aprons returning from errands, coachmen cleaning mud from wheels. Their uniforms may be finer than your clothes, their hair more neatly parted, but when they catch your eye, there is often a flicker of recognition, a silent agreement. We are not like them, it says. We are here, but we do not belong to this world. Above the city streets, the buildings stretch into rows of white stone and ornate cornices. You pass banks with polished doors and gas lamps in iron brackets. Behind those walls, men count money you will never touch. Some of that money comes from colonies far away, India, Africa, the West Indies. You've heard grown-ups say the empire stretches round the globe, but it doesn't feel that way here. It feels more like it's pressing down from above. There are clubs here, too. Gentlemen's clubs, where the wealthiest men of London dine, drink and smoke without women or children. Behind their brass-handled doors, deals are made. Political arguments are held over claret and cutlets. These are places where the Queen's ministers might laugh with bankers and newspaper editors. You see them through the windows, their faces pink from drink, their fingers wrapped around snifters of brandy. They do not look out. The street is not their concern. Sometimes you catch sight of a young lady your age, stepping from a carriage or walking with her governess. Her cheeks are pink and her bonnet neatly tied, her boots glossy as coal. She passes you without looking, and yet you wonder if she notices you the way you notice her. What does she know of the city? Has she seen a factory floor? Walked through Spitalfields after dark? Does she understand the city, you know? She will likely go home to a nursery with curtains and picture books, to an oil lamp and a supper dish brought by hand. Her day ends with a story read aloud, maybe by her nurse. Yours ends with soot on your face and hands that ache from use. But the strange thing is, the city belongs to you both. London is your home as much as hers. You know its alleys and carts, its bells and smoke, its noises and silences. She may inherit it, but you live it. And even now, even here, you are part of its story. As you walk further, you begin to hear the low hum of evening, music drifting from public houses, laughter echoing down side streets, the sound of horses returning to stables. Above it all, the gaslights burn steady, their glow golden and unwavering. They cast long shadows behind you as you walk. You do not resent the city above. It is distant, but not cruel. It watches, but does not speak. You are neither guest nor stranger here, just a child of London, one of thousands. The sun has gone. You didn't see it go. There's too much smoke in the sky, too many buildings blocking the horizon. But you feel it. The cold creeps in where warmth once held the day, and so evening begins. You are walking now, homeward, or at least to the place you sleep. The light has changed. Where once the sky had a dull grey glow, now it fades to soot black, and the lamps take over. Gas lamps sputter and hiss into life one by one, ignited by the slow, deliberate steps of the lamplighter. You've seen him before. A tall figure with a pole moving from street to street like a priest of the city, bringing fire to the twilight. With each lamp lit, shadows stretch long across cobblestones and doorsteps. The fog turns amber where it touches the flame. The air thickens not just with cold, but with the scent of roasted chestnuts, damp earth, coal smoke, and something sweet from a nearby stall. Treacle or hot pudding, maybe, if you can afford a penny. You pass by the public house. Its windows glow golden, hazy with steam and laughter. Through the fog glass you see shapes move, men hunched over pints, women wiping tables, a fiddler tuning up for the night's tunes. The pub is a haven for some, a danger for others. For you, it's a place passed by. You may slip inside sometimes if someone you know is there, an older brother, an uncle, someone who'll buy you a warm drink or let you sit in the corner without questions. But tonight you just walk past, breathing in its warmth without entering. Street vendors still call out in the fading light. One sells roasted eel from a greasy cart. Another has baked potatoes wrapped in newspaper. A girl not much older than you walks barefoot down the lane with a tray of violets, murmuring, "Sweet violets, sweet violets." Her voice is thin but persistent, like a thread being tugged along the hem of the night. She looks tired. You recognize the feeling. Down one alley, you hear the clatter of boots. Policemen making their rounds, truncheons at their sides, eyes alert for trouble. In the dusk, shadows seem more dangerous. A footstep behind you makes your heart beat faster. You walk quicker, tuck your head down, keep to the gaslight. Children still play in the streets, even now, even with the dark close behind. They run and yell, chase hoops, kick stones, tumble through puddles. A few of them share a crust of bread, laughing between bites. It's easy to forget, for a moment, that this is a hard city. The sound of laughter, even here, still fits. Then you pass the tenements. Rows of brick buildings loom, crammed tight together, windows like tired eyes. Smoke curls from chimneys where families have lit their evening fires. Clothes hang limp on washing lines strung between buildings like spider webs. You hear babies crying behind thin walls, arguments drifting from open windows, the clink of dishes and the scratch of violin practice. Life doesn't stop at sundown. It just folds into itself. You climb the stairs to your own room, or cellar, or shared corner of a space not yours alone. The door creaks. The hinges are stiff. The warmth inside is thin and patchy, coming only from a small stove or a bundle of cloth hung against a draught. If there's a fire, it's been lit sparingly. Coal is dear. Someone greets you, a sibling, a parent, a grandparent perhaps, already stooped with age and bent by years of the same kind of days you've just lived. A nod, a soft your back, maybe a pat on the shoulder. If you are lucky, there is something to eat. A stew, a piece of bread, tea brewed weak but warm. You eat slowly. The food might be plain, but it's a comfort. And the quiet hum of people settling down nearby, breathing, shifting, folding blankets. These are the evening sounds of your world. You remove your boots if you own them. If not, your feet remain cold and raw. You wash if there's water, and your hands sting from the cold. You scratch at your scalp, maybe pick out a louse or two without complaint. These things are normal. Everyone itches. Everyone coughs. Everyone gets by. By now, the city outside is still but not silent. Far off, carriage wheels still rattle over stone. A church bell chimes the hour. The river hums low, restless, even in darkness. And through the floorboards or thin walls, you hear the soft symphony of others like you, coughing, turning, whispering to children, praying, singing softly to themselves. You lie down, curled up on a mattress of straw or a pile of old rags, or beside someone you trust to keep you warm. The blanket you pull over your head is thin, but familiar. You've known it all your life. And now, as your eyelids grow heavy, the city becomes something else entirely. It becomes a place of dreams. You imagine the streets empty and clean, the sky free of smoke, the boots always dry and strong. You dream of eating a whole loaf yourself, or wearing a new coat, or reading a book by candlelight without your hands shaking from tiredness. You dream of carriages not as distant things that pass, but as places you might one day sit inside. You dream of your mother's hand cool on your forehead, singing an old tune you half remember. Sometimes you even dream of the city above, the great white houses, the velvet curtains, the chandeliers like falling stars. In your dreams, you walk inside and no one stops you. No one sends you back to the street. You are allowed to stay. But most nights, your dreams are simpler. A warm room, a full belly, a day that ends before your feet start to bleed. Outside, the fog thickens. The lamplighter finishes his route and disappears into the mist. The last hansom cabs vanish into darkness. Even the watchmen yawn at their posts. A few final doors slam shut. Then, London exhales. And you sleep. Tomorrow will come soon. You are asleep. Or trying to be. The thin blanket you hold to your chin is damp in one corner, the room never fully dry. A draft nudges the base of your spine. Somewhere nearby, someone snores, low and wet. Someone coughs, deep, hollow. You hope it isn't something worse. Consumption, whooping cough. Illness lives in close quarters like this. It hides in shared blankets, in mouths too dry, in the stillness between breaths. The fire's gone out. The stove is dark, and even the embers have ceased their glow. It is quiet now, quieter than it ever is in the day, but it is not silent. London is never silent. Beneath the hush of slumber and fog, the city stirs in other ways. The factory machines have stopped, their teeth silenced for the night. The street cries have faded, no more coals to sell, or hot pies, or watercress. The costermongers have packed up, but your ears adjust, and now the other noises reach you. You hear the Thames, slow and broad, pressing against its embankments. The river always sounds colder at night, doesn't it? As though it knows that the city sleeps and feels freer, meaner, older. The Thames has seen everything: fires, plagues, coronations. It has taken more souls than you could count and carried them far from sight. Its breath fills the alleys as mist. You hear footsteps too, not many. Not the steady shuffle of the day, but the sharp and cautious tread of those who walk when others do not. Night watchmen mostly. Policemen pacing their beats. You might even hear the rattle of a truncheon against railings, a warning to thieves. I'm here. I'm watching. But not all thieves are afraid. Some wait for these hours. The burglars and pickpockets, the cracksmen and mudlarks who work in silence and vanish into soot. You've seen them before. Boys no older than you, with fingers too quick and eyes too sharp. You might know one by name. Some say there's an entire city underneath this one, not of tunnels, but of people. The unseen, the overlooked. The night folk, crossing sweepers who become beggars after dark, porters sleeping in doorways, the girl with the cracked voice who sings by the gas lamp every night until the pub doors close. You don't know where she goes when the music ends. You never see her by day. Above you, carriages no longer roll, but a few cabs still clatter past. The important people, doctors on call, gentlemen returning late, or those with secrets not meant for daylight. The horses' hooves echo between buildings, louder now, as if the very stones are listening. And sometimes the silence is broken by the sound of pain. A scream, short, sharp, then swallowed by the fog. Perhaps a drunk being robbed, perhaps a woman crying out, perhaps something worse. You pull the blanket tighter and pretend not to have heard. It is what people do. No one wants to see what the night holds. Not really. The rats are boldest now. You hear them scratching in the walls, skittering across the floor, nosing through old bread crusts and chewed rags. They are as much a part of London as its bricks. Some nights, if you're cold and can't sleep, you watch them move, marveling at their fearlessness. The street outside is black, but the gas lamps still burn, throwing cones of light into the mist. You sometimes imagine the lamplighter still walking, though you know he's long finished. There's comfort in the thought. Someone out there. Someone holding the night at bay. But mostly, people sleep. Not always well, not always safe. But they sleep because the city demands it. Because morning will come again, and they will need every ounce of strength for the day ahead. In grander houses, those in the above of London are resting too, but their sleep is different. There are no rats in their walls. Their blankets are thick, their fireplace is warm. There are servants to check the coals, nannies to soothe crying infants, guards to keep strangers out. Yet even there, dreams come. You imagine what they dream of, those above, of wealth, of ballroom music, of colonial lands they've never seen but profit from. Or perhaps they too dream of rivers and fog and hunger, the way guilt sometimes walks uninvited into slumber. You wonder if the girl in the bonnet dreams of you the way you dream of her. In hospitals the sick lie motionless. Some will not wake with the sun. In prisons the condemned lie shackled, watched by candlelight. In cemeteries, only the fog moves between stones, wrapping the city's memories in stillness. And in darkened attics and damp cellars and soot-streaked alleyways, thousands of souls like yours sleep the fitful sleep of the working poor. And yet, even now, life flickers. A baby stirs. A dog barks once, then goes quiet. Somewhere, a clock strikes 2. Then another, then another. You count the chimes in the dark, eyes closed. Time moves slowly here. You dream half awake, your mind slipping in and out of the world. Perhaps in your dream, you walk a street with no smoke. The river is clear. Your clothes are clean. You speak and people listen. You are not invisible. You are known. And then you stir, shift. The blanket falls, and the cold wakes you for a moment. You reach down, pull it back, curl tighter. The night still has hours left, and yet, already, the city is preparing to stir again. Bakers will rise first, stoking fires while stars still linger. Then the sweep boys, blackened and coughing. Then the milk carts. Then the noise, rising slow but steady, like a tide. The first rumble of the waking city. But, for now, there is just this. A narrow bed. A cold draught. A blanket wrapped tight. And the deep, dark breath of London in the night. The first sound is a bell. Not the great peal of church towers or the chimes of Westminster, but a smaller, nearer clang. Metallic. Like iron on iron, it comes from the bakery down the lane or the factory yard nearby. The sound doesn't sing, it strikes. And it means the day has started, whether you're ready or not. Your eyes open, heavy with sleep, not quite deep enough. The blanket is still wrapped around you, damp at the edges. The air bites at your nose and your ears. In the faint light filtering through the grime-smeared window, you see the shapes of the others in the room. Curled bodies, blankets clutched. Steam rising from open mouths. Someone coughs. Another child shifts and mutters. Your bones ache, not from age, but from the simple truth of cold and poor bedding. And still you rise. You always rise. This is the rhythm of your life. The day belongs to the waking bell, not to your dreams. There is no time to linger. Water must be fetched. If the pump down the road isn't frozen or broken again, you stumble out into the courtyard or alley or whatever space passes for outside your door. The sky is a flat grey, neither night nor day, just grey. You look up and see chimney smoke already rising like the city exhaling after a held breath. If you're lucky, you find water quickly. If not, the line at the pump stretches long and slow, people hunched into their shawls and coats, faces tight with sleep and silence. You nod to those you know, keep your eyes lowered for those you don't. Politeness costs nothing, but in the early morning it's spent sparingly. Back inside, there's a little time to wash. Your hands first, then your face. The water stings with cold, but it clears your mind. Some scrape of bread is passed around. Maybe a half mug of weak tea. Breakfast, if it can be called that. Then the boots go on cracked leather, one size too large, paper stuffed in the toes. You pull on your coat, the one that never really dries, and wrap your scarf around twice, not for fashion, but because it's the only protection you have from the wind that sneaks in at every corner. You step outside. The street is different now. It has woken up. The quiet of the night is gone, replaced by motion and muttering. Barrows squeak on their wheels. Smoke thickens, sliding down from rooftops like molasses. Milk carts trundle by, the clinking of bottles announcing their path. Boys call out news headlines already shouting above the din. Their voices are hoarse, some too young to sound so rough. The market stalls are being raised. Canvas awnings flap in the wind, tied down with practiced hands. Women arrange vegetables, sort through fish just delivered from Billingsgate, stack bundles of firewood, or lay out yesterday's meat again, hoping for buyers. You pass them, half walking, half weaving, part of the tide of feet and breath and noise that builds with every step. Chimney sweep boys are already blackened, brushing soot from their sleeves. Their faces are smudged grey and brown. One coughs red into a cloth and tucks it away quickly, hoping no one sees. You do, but you say nothing. At the edge of a main street, a knocker-upper leans on his long stick, tapping at the windows of those who pay for the service of being roused. Rap, rap, rap. He waits a few seconds to be sure. Rap, rap again. He moves on. You wonder if he ever oversleeps. Probably not. School children pass you now, mostly boys, in worn blazers or short trousers, caps askew. Some walk alone, some walk in pairs, carrying books tied with string. Others won't go at all today. There's work to be done instead. Errands, deliveries, helping at the docks or the yard or the mill. Learning is for those who can afford not to be useful in the moment. If you're one of the lucky few with a place to report to, apprentice, runner, delivery boy, or shop hand, you make your way there now. You carry parcels. You count coin. You light fires in back rooms before the doors open. Your fingers sting as you work, but your body remembers the tasks. For many, the day begins in silence and smoke. Men head to the factories, stoop-shouldered and silent. Their hats are low, and their eyes are still half shut. The iron gates swing open with a hiss. Inside, machines already clatter and spin. Steam rushes through pipes. Foremen call out orders. The noise is constant, so loud that the mind cannot hold thoughts above it. The rhythm of your work becomes a kind of lullaby. Dangerous, yes, but familiar. In the shipyards, hammers ring against hulls, cranes groan. Sailors shout to one another in rough accents, lifting and loading with muscle alone. Mud sucks at boots. And at the docks, the smell of fish, tar, salt, and rot forms a perfume all its own. You might pass the rag pickers sorting through piles of cast-off fabric and refuse, hoping to find cloth worth reselling. Or the costermongers, wheeling their carts of produce or trinkets, already calling out prices and gossip. There are beggars with bowls, mothers with infants strapped to their backs, and street performers playing to thin audiences under grey skies. And everywhere, the bells. Church bells, school bells, factory bells, carriage bells, the city speaks in bells. Each one marking time, each one pulling people forward into the clockwork of London's day. You look up again. The sky has lightened slightly, not blue, exactly, but brighter than it was. A dull pearl sheen spreads above the rooftops, diffused through soot. The fog rises slower now, and the world around you is fully awake. A shop window glows softly from within. Behind it, a girl lights the first gas lamp of the day. She turns, her face catching the light. You think you know her, or you hope to. Maybe she saw you. Maybe she didn't. No matter. The day has begun, and you are in it. You walk faster now. Your boots click on stone. You have somewhere to be, somewhere to stand until the bell calls you home again. And so, With a breath and a brace against the wind, you disappear into the morning swell of Victorian London. The world does not pause for you. You've always known this. The city breathes in great clattering rhythms, and you are only one of its thousand lungs. You rise, you work, you sleep. You rise again. Between these pulses, the city marches forward, dragging the days behind it like a heavy cloak. You can feel it beneath your feet, sometimes, that slow, relentless motion. Like you are not walking on cobblestones, but riding something much larger, a machine, a beast. A city that never stops moving, no matter how tired you become. Look around you. There's the same carriage that passed you yesterday, drawn by the same chestnut horse, the driver flicking his whip with the same casual motion. There's the market woman who scolds her boy as she unloads bruised apples. There's the same charwoman, broom in hand, clearing away coal dust from steps that will be black again by noon. Nothing changes, and yet everything does. A chimney's collapsed on Thames Street. A protest broke out near Clerkenwell. A girl went missing in the East End. A new butcher opens in Holborn. The price of bread has risen by a halfpenny. Your neighbour's son has come down with fever. A stranger gives you a coin for no reason at all. A constable is transferred. The fog clears earlier than expected. But the city keeps going. The Parliament debates. The factories chug. The schools drill boys in Latin and discipline. Omnibuses shudder over rough roads. Chimneys belch smoke skyward. Gas lamps are lit and then extinguished and then lit again. And you, small as you may feel in it all, are part of this motion. You may not matter to the men in tall hats who meet in rooms with polished floors, but you matter to the rhythm. You carry parcels. You sweep crossings. You call out headlines. You stitch boots. You scrub floors. You stack crates. You dig coal. You wash sheets. You do what is needed to keep the city breathing. Even now, as you pause to catch your breath in the narrow shade between buildings, you hear the noise of it, London's great song of effort. Hammering, hooves, shouting, laughter, sobs, bargains struck, fists raised, the sudden crash of a dropped box, the rattle of a wheel across cobblestone. And underneath it all, always the clock. Tick, 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 tick. Big Ben may be the one the city hears, but there are clocks in every hall, bell tower, dining room, and office. Time rules all here. Every hour belongs to someone. To the man in the counting house, to the boy in the shop, to the woman scrubbing steps, to the girl carrying laundry down the street with arms full and fingers numb. You know when the lunch hour is by the smell of boiled cabbage in the air. You know when it's 3 o'clock because the schoolboys come flooding from brick buildings like startled sparrows. You know when it's 6 by the way shadows stretch over the street and the workers trudge home with soot in their teeth. And when the light fades, it fades fast. Gas lamps hiss back to life. Shop windows are shuttered. Pub doors creak open. Men gather at corners, their voices thicker now, looser. There's a different kind of energy here. One of fatigue, yes, but also release. The city shifts gears. It doesn't slow. It never slows, but it turns its face. You might find yourself sitting on a low wall, watching it all. Feet sore, stomach empty, coat pulled tight. And you wonder, how long can it keep going? But the answer is always the same. Longer than you. London does not sleep. Not truly. There are always mouths to feed, goods to move, stairs to scrub, fires to tend, wounds to bind, books to balance. And if someone should fall, an accident at the docks, a cough that turns bloody, a hand crushed in a gear, well, someone else steps in. Quickly, quietly. You learned that lesson early. Everyone does. And yet, even in this endless churn, moments shimmer. A girl in a bonnet smiles as she passes. You feel your chest flutter. A hot roll handed down by a baker too kind for his own profit. A story overheard from a passing cart. A joke. A bit of gossip, a burst of laughter like wind through leaves. A patch of sunlight landing between buildings for the briefest instant, warming your hand like a promise. These things matter, even if they don't stop the city, even if they're forgotten an hour later. They are yours. And in a city of smoke and sweat and brass and bellows, yours is worth more than gold. By now your day is winding toward its end. Your tasks have been completed, or at least paused. Your body aches in the familiar places. Your stomach reminds you it's time to find a crust, a scrap, a mug of something hot. You walk home, or to the place you call home. One room, perhaps two, shared or solitary. The fog returns, softening the outlines of buildings. The street lamps shimmer. A violin plays somewhere, slow and lovely. A baby cries. A dog barks once and then falls silent. You feel the city exhale again. The waking bell is a memory now. Tomorrow's bell is waiting. But now, for just a few hours, you belong to yourself. You take off your boots. You lay down your scarf. You fold your coat across the foot of the bed if you have one. If not, a blanket on the floor will do. You lie back. You sigh. And you listen to the breathing of others nearby, to the drip of a pipe in the corner, to the heartbeat of London slowing but never stopping. Tick, 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 tick. And just before you drift away, you think, I lived another day. And the city rolls on. You have lived through a day in London, not as a grand figure on the world stage, but as something no less vital, as a worker, a walker, a witness, a gear in the clockwork of a century. You woke in the grey dark. You moved with the crowds. You listened to the bells. You worked when it was cold and coughed when it was damp, and found wonder even in the corners where beauty hides beneath soot. And though no headlines carried your name, though no statues were raised in your likeness, you were one of the many who made the city real. You were the breath behind its speech, the hands behind its goods, the feet that wore paths into its stone. And now, as night hushes the rooftops and the fog returns to fold the world in, you may close your eyes. You've earned that. All of you have. The morning bell will ring again soon. It always does. But for now, just now, let your heart beat slow. Let the city turn without you. You are still part of it. You always will be. Good night.